is Monday and I am very excited for this video diary entry that I'm going to be doing over the course of this week, because it has been a little while since I have last talked about books on this platform, and as you probably already know, I have a love for reading, and so I get really excited talking about books. Over the next 5 days I'm going to be doing a little bit of a book challenge. I've seen a few people do this before. I am going to be swapping my screen time for reading. I do love reading, but I do find it very difficult to read in long sittings. Like, I admire people that can read an entire book in one sitting. Don't get me wrong, I do get captivated by books and I can read for a long time, but once it gets past the hour and a half mark, I do get a bit fidgety and restless. So this week is going to be interesting. But I am really excited and I thought I would bring you along with me. Also, usually when people do this challenge they do it for the entire week. However, my weekend is pretty much a write-off because I've got a 21st birthday to attend on Saturday, and then the very next day I have work and I'm probably going to be extremely hungover. So yeah, let's just say this weekend is not looking very pretty. But regardless, I'm very interested to see how much reading and how many books I can get through. I'm a little bit nervous, if I'm honest. Like, I don't tend to spend a lot of time on my phone, but I know it all accumulates, so okay, not too bad. Wow, I don't know if the camera picked that up, but there's thunder. As I was saying, apparently last week's average was 2 hours and 6 minutes per day, which I think is not too bad. I feel like I could do 2 hours and 6 minutes of reading per day. Anyway, I thought I would share with you my lineup of books that I have in mind. If you're like me, one of the things I struggle with is choosing which book I want to read next. Usually when I'm in the middle of reading a book, I have a book in mind that I would like to read after I finish, but then once I finish that book I'm at like a stalemate and I've changed my mind and I don't know what I want to read. So I have a few options to start off my week. Here is the pile. So I have 1984 by George Orwell. I also have The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. And I also thought that I might tackle this big boy this week because I know that this book is beloved. But I do tend to have big book fear, but also I did try an attempt to read this book about a year ago and the first pages had a lot of big words. So I'm thinking about giving this book another go, but it's The Secret History by Donna Tartt. If I'm going to be completely honest with you, I'm probably going to start with The Bell Jar because this is another book that I have been dying to read. When I found this at the hospice shop the other day, I literally did a little tiny scream. I have been on the lookout for this book for a while. Considering that I'm going to be reading a lot this week, I thought I might also do a bit of book hunting and I thought I would bring you along. I know a lot of people ask how I have so many books and how I can afford it. I really can't, but I buy books anyway. I tried using Kindle and that because I know it is better for the environment and you can get books on there for way cheaper, but I'm very materialistic when it comes to books. I like to collect them. I like the fact that I'm able to annotate and make the book my own and scribble on them. I like to personalize my books, and I also like lend these books to my friends. I kind of justify me buying books by buying them from op shops and secondhand stores. That is also the only way that I can afford to have this many books on my shelves. If I have been struggling to find a certain book for months and I desperately want to read it, then I usually just go to a small local bookshop and purchase it from there, so I'm supporting local. Enough of me chatting. I have a lot of reading to do so I'm gonna get onto it now. Morning. Today is Tuesday and I'm in a bit of a rush because I'm supposed to be catching a bus to go to work today in about like 5 minutes, but I've been reading the Bell Jar and so far I'm really enjoying it. I found some words that I just really loved, and there is a lot of underlining and annotating throughout this book already, and I've only read 70 pages. I did do half an hour of reading this morning before I picked up the camera, but I believe my page count was 57 from yesterday. I also forgot to mention that if I do feel like reading more than 2 hours and 6 minutes, of course I'm going to and I'm allowed to. The challenge is more that I have to read 2 hours and 6 minutes minimum a day. I'll just share with you a few of the words that I have underlined because there are a lot of great writing in here, and I can see why people really adore this book. It was my first big chance, but here I was sitting back and letting it run through my fingers like so much water. Dressing gowns, the color of sin. Everything she said was like a secret voice speaking straight out of my own bones. Like, wow. Morning. Today is Wednesday, another day, and another ugly grandpa sweater. Today is day 3 of the challenge, and so far I think it's going quite well. I read a little bit more than what was required. I did 2.5 hours of reading yesterday. I'm about halfway through the book now, and my page count is 122 at this point, which I know doesn't sound like the biggest number, but to be fair, the text, it's pretty small and I'm also not the fastest reader that you'll come to know. I thought I would read a few of the words that I underlined yesterday. Here is probably my favorite quote from the book so far. I saw myself sitting in the crotch of this fig tree, starving to death, just because I couldn't make up my mind which of the figs I would choose. I wanted each and every one of them, but choosing one meant losing all the rest. And as I sat there unable to decide, the figs began to wrinkle and go black, and one by one they plopped to the ground at my feet. I really liked that one because I am an extremely indecisive person, and sometimes this is how I feel. If I choose or commit to something, I feel like I'm missing out on another opportunity, but we won't go into detail about that in this video. So I'm going to be running some errands to go get some wool and dropping off some packages, and while I was out I thought I would actually do a bit of book shopping. So I first stopped off at one of my favourite bookstores that I frequently visit. Their books are well priced and I always come home with something. Quite possibly though, my favourite thing about the store is that they section their books by genre, so you don't have to search through all the shelves to find what you're after. My next stop, I went to this absolutely stunning bookstore. I love to go here because the store is floor to ceiling, covered in books. I don't tend to go here as often though, because they are more on the pricey side for a second-hand store, but as you can see, they have a huge collection to choose from. Hello, I am back from book shopping and running my errands, and I have brought home with me a few books. I only got 2 while I was out, and I just wanted to show you what I got. The first place that I stop at, I got this book called Fever Dream by Samantha. I'm sorry, I'm not going to attempt to say that name. I'm gonna Google it.
Samantha's Webley.
By her. I have never heard of this book before, but I read the back of it and I thought it had promise, and so I opened the first page and I just started reading. This really hooked me. I'll just quickly read it for you because I would find it hard for anyone to put down this book with this beginning. So, they're like worms. What kind of worms? Like worms all over. Worms in the body? Yes, in the body. Earthworms? No, other kind of worms. It's dark and I can't see. The sheets are rough. They bunch up under my body. I can't move, but I'm talking. At the very beginning of the book, it has this quote, which I also thought was a very good opening. So that's why I picked up that book. And then at the second bookstore that I visited, I managed to find a copy of Just Kids. And I am super excited to read this book because I have seen this book all over BookTok. Like, I mean, non-stop. And the shopkeeper there also happened to be a Patti Smith fan and gave me $2 off. So that's a bonus. Hopefully it'll be good. I do have high hopes for this one. So yes, now that all the sharing is out of the way, I am probably gonna go back to reading the bell jar some more. I did about an hour and a half of reading earlier this morning, so I still have a little bit to go. Oh, tonight I'm going to watch the new episode of The Time Traveler's Wife because I loved that book and I loved the movie, but now they're doing a new series and it goes way more in depth than what the film adaptation did of the book, and it's brilliant. I'm really enjoying it, so I'm probably gonna watch that with my mum tonight. But yeah, I guess I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Morning. Today is Thursday and it is now the 4th day of me doing this book challenge, and yesterday I managed to do 3.5 hours of reading and I finished it. I finished the bell jar. There's a lot of momentum towards the end, and so I just kept going and I really wanted to finish it because I only had a few pages left. But thoughts on this book? I'll be honest with you, and please don't come at me. I did love this book, but I feel like I was expecting more, and I really shouldn't do that when I go into the books, but I guess I couldn't help but have a bias or some sort of expectation, because this book has been coming up on my feed constantly for like the past 6 months with a lot of praise. So I did have high hopes, and it's not that they weren't met, it's just I was expecting more. I don't mean that to take anything away from it, because don't get me wrong, there are a lot of beautiful words within this book. I mean, you can just tell if you read my copy. There are a lot of scribbles, and I should really take some advice from this book, because it literally says, if you expect nothing from somebody, you are never disappointed. Anyway, moving on. Now we have hit the dilemma of choosing another book. I've got our revised pile of books to choose from to read next. So I still do have The Secret History and 1984 included in this pile, because those are two books that I definitely want to read, and I know I just need to just suck it up and get over my big book fear and just dive into this book, but I am intimidated. I have also added to this pile another George Orwell book, Animal Farm, and I really want to read this book. I know it's a classic and people say you should definitely read it, but one of my favorite Pink Floyd albums, Animals, is inspired by this book, so it'd be interesting to see how they interpreted the book. And I have also put in this pile Frankenstein. I probably won't pop in to chat till tomorrow, because I do have a lot planned today. I've got work this evening, and I'm also going out for brunch with my friend, so I'll see you tomorrow. Morning. Today is Friday, and it is the 5th day of me swapping out my screen time for reading. And this morning I woke up and I finished Animal Farm. I stayed up reading this book till 1:30 in the morning. As you know, I had a bit of a busy day yesterday. I was catching up with a friend, and then I had to run off to work afterwards and work throughout the evening, and I only managed to get 30 minutes of reading done throughout the day, which meant I would have to do the rest once I got home from work. And I didn't get home till around 10:30, but I was committed and I actually managed to do the 2 hours and 6 minutes for that day. I must say it did help that this book is extremely fast-paced, and it gets right into it from the very first chapter. And now finishing the book today, I really enjoyed reading it, and it definitely deserves to have the title of being one of the books you should read in your lifetime. I would recommend that if you're wanting to get into reading, this is a very good start. First of all, she is slim. I'm pretty sure that my copy is not even 100 pages long. Yeah, it's 95 pages, so if you don't think you have the patience to read, or you're just time poor, this is very good. It's very rewarding. It's captivating, it's page turning, and overall I thoroughly enjoyed reading this book, even though it is a tragic story and it is very blunt and in no way subtle at being a social commentary, but I thought it was really good. And I thought I would read you a couple of words that I underlined throughout this book. One of my favorite quotes is actually the last line, so I'm not going to share it with you, because although I know the plot of this book is kind of common knowledge. I don't want to give too much away, but if you have read this book, you know how good that last line is. Here are a few words that I liked. Man is the only creature that consumes without producing. He does not give milk. He does not lay eggs. He is too weak to pull the plough. He cannot run fast enough to catch rabbits. Yet he is the lord of all the animals. He sets them to work. He gives back to them the bare minimum that will prevent them from starving, and the rest he keeps for himself. Man serves the interests of no creature except himself. In fighting against man, we must not come to resemble him. And I just thought I would mention that all of those lines are from the first chapter of the book, so you can see it really dives straight in. I still have about 40 minutes of reading to do for today, and I thought that I would finally start on The Secret History. I think I am going to do it this time. Sorry if I change my mind, but you can't blame me. I mean, look at how big this book is. Also, I'm going to try my best to do this challenge throughout the weekend as well, even though I know it is probably going to be a struggle, but I'm going to try, because if I could do what I did last night, I can do it throughout the weekend. I am actually really enjoying reading this much. It doesn't really feel like work, but I'm hoping after this challenge that I will dedicate more time to reading per day, because I am actually really enjoying it. Goodbye my loves, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm sorry it was a bit long, but I just can't stop talking about books. I did pick up The Secret History over the weekend, and I'm so glad that I have given it another chance, because I have fallen in love with it. Thank you again for being here, and see you next time. Love you.